Hello everyone and welcome back to another video, and today I have yet another acquisition from a friend, and this time they bought a 980 Ti, a very interesting 980 Ti, and no, it's not because it's water cooled. This one just kind of happened to have a water cooler on it. This one's interesting because it's the GTX 980 Ti Xtreme from Gigabyte. So most people are probably aware of the Windforce 980 Ti, which is a better than reference but not very good 980 Ti. It's one of the models that you kind of tend to see a lot for blown up V-core power stages. Not as common as the EVGA or the reference card though, but it certainly is like directly behind those. This one, however, is a... I don't know if I've ever seen this one for sale before. But this one was really cheap, and it's the Xtreme, which is like, that's why that friend got the card. I would have loved to get it, but I don't have the kind of money just to throw around. Even, like, especially because I already have a 980 Ti that's really good. Not in VRM good, but just clocking good. But anyway, we're gonna take a look at the card. I already tested it, like works, and I've already found out that this is Samsung memory, and it has a pretty good ASIC quality. So I'm gonna take it apart, take a look at the PCB, probably clean the block a bit. Looks pretty filthy, probably repaste the card. And yeah. So yeah, the card did come with a backplate. This one, I removed that already. So that's why some screw holes are empty. Yeah, because reflective black backplates are usually kind of annoying because my face tends to reflect in them, and I think I just look kind of really bad when you can see my face while I'm talking and looking at the card and not into the camera or anything. Like, it's not because I don't want to show my face, it's just because I think I look stupid. Let's see how good the thermal paste job is. Let's hope to God that this one doesn't have liquid metal on it. The Zotac 980 Ti had liquid metal on it. If this has liquid metal, I mean, I've confirmed it still works, so... Okay, have we missed a screw, or does this just have really sticky thermal pads? It looks like we're in the sticky thermal pad territory. Okay, I'm gonna... It really doesn't want to come off. Yeah, I can already see it has tons of thermal pads. Okay. Is there any... Ah, it just fell off. Okay. No liquid metal. 980 GX Ti XG. Okay. So, here we have the card. Yeah, in typical EK fashion, like, you get your capacitors cooled, because that's important. Let's, yeah, take care of the thermal pads. Yeah, it is Samsung. C-die, same as my Zotac card. So yeah, Samsung memory on 980 Ti's is actually very important, because like, usually Samsung memory clocks better. But on 980 Ti's, you want Samsung memory not just because it clocks better, usually. You want Samsung memory especially for extreme overclocking. Because on 980 Ti's, when you go sub-zero, you end up in situations where you have to raise your memory voltage to keep the memory controller part, or just generally the core, more stable. Like, there's an overclocking guide made by Tin on the 980 Ti Kingpin, and they have a section about why all the 980 Ti Kingpins have Samsung memory. And, well, they've discussed how when you really push the card, you need to at some point increase your memory voltage to keep the core stable. And the Hynix chips that exist for the 980 Ti are very similar to the 1 gigabit AFR GDDR5, which is like the most dreaded memory chip ever made. And that similarity is that if you increase the memory voltage on them, they stop working. like the card black screens or crashes or whatever. So you can't increase the memory voltage on the Hynix chips. So you need to have Samsung chips to be able to increase your memory voltage, because otherwise your card's just gonna crash. And yeah, basically that's why. Because you're not gonna be able to put your core to like the best speed it can achieve without raising the memory voltage on 980 Ti's. Alright, so that would be all the firmware pads off. Let's clean the core a bit. I don't know why, 980 Ti cores always look really filthy. I have a feeling that this one's not gonna be entirely clean. Oh no, it does actually come clean, okay. I thought the middle bit on the... Well, actually there is some residue on here that doesn't want to come off on the edges. I'm gonna try to make it as clean as I can. Just get into here, get the firmware paste out of there as well. That's some very hard thermal paste they used here. Might also just be old thermal paste. Okay, that's good enough, I would say. So yeah, GM200 310i1, normal 980 Ti, Samsung C-die memory. Pretty standard stuff. Like good 980 Ti, ASIC quality pretty good. It's like better than 82%. Like not on the level on my Zotac card. That one's just actually a god. But well, ASIC quality isn't everything. This one might actually be better than my Zotac card. It's just my Zotac card's doing what was it, 1540 on the core. Yeah. So anyway, VRM. This one is actually, what is this? Yeah, this is a 12-phase VCore VRM. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Memory is over here, it's a 2-phase. And cores are 12. Now it's probably doubled. No, actually, is it? I don't see any doublers on this. Wait, is this a real 12? This is a real 12. Okay. So, our power stages are the FDM-F6823C. Pretty common power stage for 28 nanometer NVIDIA cards. You see this on the reference 780, 780 Ti, Titan, reference 980 Ti. You even see this on some of Gigabyte's 1080 Ti's. So yeah, this is a DR MOS. It's not a power stage. It's not an actual power stage. It's a driver MOSFET. So it's a high side, a low side, and a driver integrated into one chip. And this has a rating of 50 amps. So 12 times 50 amps. That's the theoretical current throughput. Though you're never gonna actually run this at 50 amps per phase, because the efficiency at that point is gonna be really, really bad. But theoretically, 50 amps. So theoretically, this is twice the VRM that you get on a reference 780, because that's a 6-phase. 780 Ti's and 980 Ti's for the reference board are a bit difficult, because they're technically also a 6-phase, but they have 2 phases where they have 2 of these instead of 1. Like they have 2 DR MOSes per phase. So they have 8 DR MOSes, but 6 phases. So like they have 2 big phases and then 4 small phases, and like it's technically meant for current balancing, but they could also just like switch each of the DR MOSes on after the other to like effectively double current throughput for that phase. So it's a bit yeah, it's a bit complicated to really tell how my if that like contributes to extra current capability on those cards. Technically it does, but it depends on like how frequently that extra DR MOS is being used. So anyway, so VCore VRM on this is pretty good. It's not as good as the Strix. The Strix is on 60 amp power stages, because the Strix is on IR3550s, also a 12-phase. So the Strix can technically do 10 amps more per phase, but they're both very powerful VCore VRMs. This is a better VCore VRM than the Zotac. The Zotac has an 8-phase with pretty bad MOSFETs. I actually haven't checked if they're bad MOSFETs, but it's a Zotac card. They usually, like, they're discrete MOSFETs, and Zotac usually uses like rather meh ones. So, yeah, this one, yeah, better VCore VRM. Like, not quite as good as the Strix, but like pretty good. Like, this VRM should not have an issue powering a 980 Ti, especially not with the water cooler on it. So let's actually take a look at what controller we have here. You can already see it's a UP something. Whoop. UP1984A. I have no idea what that is. I mean, this is the first time I take the card apart. You saw me take the cooler off. I wasn't able to pre-check the datasheet. But yeah, that's gonna be our VCore controller. It's also curious to see. Is that a second? Oh no, this one's just the memory controller. So that's yeah, 81172, so that's probably an RT81172, like usually on 700, 900 series you see like two-phase Richtech controllers with integrated drivers for the memory VRM, especially when it's a two-phase. Yeah, and then over here is an INA 3221. What this chip does, I don't know. It might be for the, what I presume is a BIOS switch, or something to do with the extra 6-pin. Does this have dual BIOS? There's one BIOS chip here. And yeah, there's another chip on the back. So this is dual BIOS. So this is a dual BIOS card, which is cool. I actually thought Gigabyte didn't do dual BIOS this far. Like, they did dual BIOS on the 580 SoC, but I didn't know they put this on the 980 Ti. So that's cool. It has dual BIOS. That's probably the... No, actually, that's not probably the PEX rail. The PEX rail is this, probably. And then we have the two dreaded input filter... not input filtering... current steering MOSFETs. These ones, I've heard, blow up a lot. I haven't seen it myself, but I've heard that these blow up a lot. These are like... these should... So from what I know, what these should do is like switch some of the phases through two different 12-volt inputs. So like if one 8-pin's drawing more than the other, they can switch over like a phase to equal out the draw on the 8-pins, or maybe even PCIe. And I've heard that these tend to blow up. Linus Tech Tips had a 1080 where that happened. One of them blew up. Yeah. So, yeah. Let's talk about the output filter, because that's something I really like. There's just so much output filter on this card. Like, damn. They left some spots empty here, which I think that's probably actually memory, because like the memory power plane like goes like this. It's like there's a cap here, cap there. And then, no, they don't have anything on the front. I think that's actually memory, these ones. But yeah, they have loads. They're 330 microfarads, so they're not super big. But still, that's a lot of capacitors. And they're SMD polymers. So these are like, not the best. Like the best would technically just be like an army of multi-layer ceramics, but these are like way better than these, for example, these CAN types. CAN types are, like on the capacitor tier list, CAN types are worst. These ones pretty decent, then the best would be multi-layer ceramics like these, but multi-layer ceramics are very low capacitance and are like pretty expensive for capacitance, so these are usually pretty good. Also, multi-layer ceramics take a lot more space for their capacitance, because like the solder footprint's pretty big. So this one is probably a more space efficient way of having a very good output filter, and I like this. My 980 Ti Zotac, like the Omega Edition, it has like 6 of these. And other than that, it's only CAN types. So, yeah, this one's quite good. And also a thing that Gigabyte has been consistently doing, I don't know if they're still doing it, but they have been doing this at least from the 700 to the 10 series, is they upgrade your capacitors behind the core. So per spec, these are either, yeah, I think the reference card is 330 microfarad caps here. Some do 470, but as far as I know, only Gigabyte, and I think like maybe one Zotac card or something, used 560. Oh, actually, my 2080 Ti also has that. I have a 2080 Ti Xtreme, so technically the 2080 Ti successor to this card. Yeah, that one also has 560 microfarad capacitors behind the core, which is more that like basically sometimes you have the choice to either have one SMD polymer or 10 multi-layer ceramics. But you can only fit those 10 multi-layer ceramics in a certain package, and the maximum capacitance available for that package is 47 microfarads. So with multi-layer ceramics, you cannot get more than 470 microfarads in a spot where this would be. So these 560 microfarad caps are like more capacitance than you could ever get with multi-layer ceramics in this. I don't know if it's technically better, like multi-layer ceramics have really low inductance, and inductance is like pretty important. But it's still better than like most cards, where you just get 330 or 470 SP caps. So yeah, there's a pretty cool thing that Gigabyte's been doing. I don't know if they're still doing it for the 30 series, but my 2080 Ti has it. The 1080 Ti I had has it. This 980 Ti has it, and my 780 Ti Windforce also has it. So yeah, pretty cool. I like. So yeah, that would actually almost be it. Sadly, I didn't get the stock heatsink with this. I only got the water block, so I can't really say anything about the heatsink. And apart from the dual BIOS switch and the extra 6-pin, there doesn't seem to be much extreme overclocking functionality here, except in case this one has an overclocking software which gives you voltage control, which might be what this chip does. So the 580 SoC, I'm just gonna show it. This is the GTX 580 SoC. Also has dual BIOS with this button here, just that they have it angled on the 980 Ti. This chip, like the 580 has this chip, which is not the V-Core controller. The V-Core controller is this ADP 4100 on the back, and this NCP 5392 is the memory controller. This one should be responsible because this card has working software voltage control on core and memory. And neither the ADP 4100 nor the NCP 5395 are digital controllers. So you need this extra controller right here to interface with these controllers, because this probably skews the feedback line of those controllers or just changes the vid. So using this chip, you can have software voltage control on the card, which is pretty cool. And this chip right here, because yeah, I don't know what it would be doing, because that's the 93221 that does your power monitoring. This is your V-Core PWM controller. This is your memory PWM controller. This is probably a low dropout regulator. It's an LM358C, if I'm seeing that correctly. This might be gate voltage. There's also a little inductor here, maybe that's something to do with it. Because I think that's the 5-volt rail. This might also be a 5-volt rail, but this might also be gate drive for the AMOSes. Because sometimes you want something like 7 volts for gate drive on these to be the most efficient, and well, you don't have any 7-volt source from your power supply, so you have to create it yourself. This might be that. This might be gate drive. And then this inductor and this little chip here is gonna be the PAX/display drive rail. That's the BIOS, one of the BIOS chips. Other BIOS chip, these. One might be the 1.8 volts rail if it has one. And then like usually in the display output section you have some 8-pin ICs. They usually don't do much. Like they're usually not voltage rail related. They're like output related. So, and then there's this chip, which is like of decent size. It's bigger than the 93221 or the memory PWM controller, so it's gonna have some complexity to it, and I don't know what it would be doing. So this chip might be a similar thing to what we have on the 580. This might be able to talk to or skew the V-Core and memory PWM controllers to give you software voltage control, which I don't know. It might be, it might not be, but if this is that would be really cool. Because, yeah, that would be really cool. You don't have to volt mod this, you don't have to use an EVC, you just have a little software, that's really cool. Like, that would be really cool. It's similar to, like, the Classify tool or the HOF NVVDD tool. Like, Something like that is a legit extreme overclocking feature. So you get to see this on like Hall of Fame cards and classified cards, and well, also this SoC card from Gigabyte. So if this chip is giving you software voltage control, that would be really cool. Which would make this card, like, honestly extreme overclocking capable. Like BIOS switch, you have an extra 6-pin though. Like I don't think this is really needed. I think this is more of a gimmick. Or you also don't need to plug this in to run the card, just plugging in the 8 pins like the card works. Or maybe this thing has a memory heater. I don't think it does though. Cause like on the 780 Ti Matrix, it has like a Molex connector in this area, and that's for the memory heater, cause it has an integrated memory heater. Yeah, for extreme overclocking, sometimes your memory chips don't like to be as cold, so you have a memory heater. I don't really see any extra circuitry on this card though. And there would also be like a switch to enable. Maybe it's just you plug it in and it's on, but that would be like really weird. So I'm not sure if this has a memory heater. I don't think it does have a memory heater. I think this is actually just an extra 12 volt input that like gives you more. Yeah, it's probably to bypass the power limit, because like this comes after the shunt, right? Like 12 volt power goes in here, goes through the shunt, and then this probably goes directly into the power plane, like bypassing the shunt. So all the current that goes through here is not monitored by that. So you would theoretically have extra power that doesn't count towards your power limit. Though I don't know if that's just going into one 8-pin or into both at some point. Yeah, I'm not sure. It has, yeah, I'm not sure. But yeah, extra power input possibly gonna like help you keep your power limits in check, though on Maxwell you can just make a custom BIOS for like 999 watts. So not really needed. But yeah, the BIOS chip is cool, and this one potentially giving you software voltage control would be really cool. And then of course we have the VRM, which is really, really good looking. Like this, like, yeah, it might not be as good as the Strix or like the Kingpin or what else you can get, but this is like one of the best. Like it's still one of the best. It might not be all the way out there, but this is still in the pretty, like, very good territory. This is like an A-tier VRM still. Kingpin and the Hall of Fame and the Strix are in S tier. This is for sure an A tier VRM. So yeah. And actually, I don't think I have much more to say about this. Yeah, like it's a 980 Ti. I like the VRM. I like the features it has. I like the potential features it might have too. And yeah, and I guess I'm gonna test to make sure that it works properly. Like, gonna run it a bit, I'm gonna have to drain my loop and stuff, but I'm gonna run the card a bit and see what it does. Yeah, like, pretty good AC quality, might get core overclocking, Samsung memory, which you need to have a good card. Like, you could have the best core ever, if it's Hynix, it's just not gonna work out. That's sadly a thing on 980 Ti's. But yeah, pretty cool card, I think. Like, again, it's kind of the trend of just like, I like Gigabyte because I think they make some really cool things that are not really all that common. Like, you know, because like Strix exists, or like MSI Lightning Gaming X stuff exists. Like there's a lot of brands that are a lot more popular than whatever Gigabyte has, and it certainly doesn't help them that they like change the name all the time. Like they had SoC, then they have Windforce, then they have Xtreme, then they had Aorus, like maybe, and now they have Tachyon. Like Gigabyte should engage in some brand loyalty. Maybe that would help them, because like ROG and Strix and, well, actually Strix isn't that old. It was Direct CO2 before, but anyway, Classified exists for a long time. Hall of Fame has been existing for a long time. Yeah. But yeah, like I like that this exists. It's a cool VRM. It's a very capable VRM, very nice output filter, like cool features and especially potential features. Like the card looks good. It looks like a really, really good 980 Ti. Yeah, if you ask me, this is extreme overclocking worthy. Oh, also one last thing that I noticed. They also did this on the 980 Ti. So you see how normally NVIDIA cards have like 8 mounting holes? Here it only has 4. Because where the mounting holes that would be, they placed extra filtering capacitors. They also did this on the 980 Ti, because it has like a set of smaller and then bigger mounting holes. On my card they replaced the, I think it was the smaller mounting holes, also with extra filtering capacitors, and these should be core. So you have some extra core filtering capacitors really close to your die, and I think there should also be, yeah, there's also some on the back. That might not be much, though actually if you compare to what you have behind the core, like that's, yeah, that's an extra 16 multi-layer ceramic capacitors. That's like almost 2 of these worth if you used multi-layer ceramics instead. So that's actually not an inconsequential amount of extra filtering that you get really, like, not directly behind, but really close to your core, which could help. Like, it certainly doesn't harm it. It's better than not having it there. And this should help, because it's really close to the core. So that's also a cool feature that I like that they put on. That's also another cool thing that Gigabyte does, apparently. Like, I thought they only did it on my 980 Ti, but now I noticed they're also doing it here. I don't think they did it on the 1080 Ti, though I only had the Gaming OC 1080 Ti. There was also an Xtreme, which looks very similar to this one. Also has a 12-phase VRM. I don't know if that card possibly does that. Maybe one day I'll have it and I can check. Anyway, I think the video's been long enough now, yeah. Pretty long. But yeah, another cool card, another thing that I think a lot of people sleep on, because I think it's cool. I think the card is cool. So yeah, hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching, and until next time, goodbye.